So at the end of 2 Valhalla videos, I asked what exactly some of you guys wanted from the game, so I could put together sort of like a list of things other AC fans wanted. Of course, it's not going to be representative of the entire community, you can't really get that from any comment section, but I think it will be fairly interesting nonetheless. So without further ado, let's get into this. So the first comment with a fair few likes is from Arib2015, who says, "Hope they don't make us do 200 side missions just to do one main one that's 3 minutes." And yeah, that's one that I feel so many of us want. It wasn't just an Odyssey issue, but in Origins to a certain extent, where unless you're on New Game Plus, you'd have to go through a fair few side quests at times just to be able to progress, and it could make the narrative feel quite disjointed when you do one mission, and then maybe you'd have to do 2 or 3 side missions that would take like an hour, and then you'd have another main quest that would pick right up where it left off. And from what we've heard, this isn't going to be an issue, luckily. In that Kotaku interview that Ash did, he said he didn't want us hitting any progression walls, as he put it, and I think that's something most people would agree is a great thing. I just hope that it's still going to be worth doing the side content in its own right, and we're going to still want to play it even when it isn't a mandatory stepping stone. So the next two I've put together as they are similar, but Spit33 was saying he wants to see Ireland or Normandy in France, as well as Skippy Midnight, who said, "I want Layla to die," and is also hoping for Wales. I said this a while back, but I'm 90% sure we are going to see another location like Ireland or France or Wales, and I think all that's fair game when you consider the last DLCs these guys did were the Hidden Ones and the Curse of the Pharaohs, where we got the Sinai and Thebes, and the Season Pass is a thing, and I reckon we could get DLC on the standard map, but considering that Vikings are travellers and Ash has teased that we'd get to see something more in an interview, that could be what he means. In regards to those locations, Vikings were in all of those, and in regards to France, the second siege of Paris happened just 12 years after the game starts, which does sound like a lot of time, but if it's a DLC set after the story of the main game, then I think it's fairly plausible, and I think seeing any of these locations, not just in the main game, but you've got, you know, the possibility of DLC too, I think it's fairly likely we'll see any of the locations on the British Isles and the North Sea. So the next comment is from a random collection of syllables. I'm sorry, I can't read that. But yeah, anyway, they say they want a likeable protagonist, fun combat and historical figures that aren't too forced, with a story worth this series title, and a lot of people seem to agree with this. I think Eivor will be likeable. From the sounds of what Darby's saying, it seems like we're getting a redemption story again, so they'll at least be likeable by the end, I'd say. The combat seems really different, and they keep describing it as like heavy and weighty, and the fact there's so many enemy archetypes and weapon combinations is going to be great too, just for making the combat still feel alive, even after tens of hours of gameplay. I think the historical figures thing is a fairly safe bet, as Darby's wrote a few into AC before, and we already know King Alfred is in the game, and in the very first round of interviews around the game, he said he's going to be quite two-dimensional with moral justifications to him, which is far better than the caricatures we got in, say, Syndicate. And finally, for the AC story, I 100% think they'll deliver. I know I've said it a lot, but it's Darby and Ash, and although the marketing's been very poor, especially on the AC side of things, from what we've heard, I 100% think it's going to be a great Assassin's Creed story, not just as a self-contained thing, but I'm fairly sure they'll try and tie AC1 and AC Origins together. I thought this during the Ragnarok speculation, but I'm even more sure of it now. The game is set between Origins, the formation of the Hidden Ones, as well as AC1, and before that, the formation of the Levantine Assassins, which is sort of the start of the Assassins as we know them today, with Origins being Ash's baby, basically, and having creatives who care for the franchise behind this. I'd be shocked if we left the game without some sort of connection between the two, or at least one of them, at the very least. 65 Fire Red says, "So this won't be the end of the modern day then," and then also says he wants hidden blade combat, headgear in cutscenes, tools like smoke bombs, throwing knives and the coin toss, as well as legacy outfits and weapons. And I agree with all of these. We know we're getting headgear in cutscenes now, which is very cool, but hidden blade combat would be great. Thinking about it, the way Ash justified the blade being on top of Eivor's wrist was because he loved the blade as a weapon. This is presumably before he's an assassin. He's likely more immature and he's less likely to use stealth, and nothing feels like it's off the table anymore. So now I've kind of justified it to myself that it could be real, I'm getting quite excited, but still, it might not be there. It'd be really nice if it was though. I like that you mentioned throwing knives as well. I think we'll have axes in their stead because, you know, we know that we can do that from that breakdown Ash did of the initial CGI trailer. Coin toss would be cool too, as a way to sort of give the social stealth a bit more depth, as well as bringing back a classic feature. And I'll be really interested in seeing how they do legacy outfits, whether it be like Odyssey, where you get individual pieces of armour, or maybe like a Unity outfit that goes over the armour, but the effects still apply. Patrick mentions confessions coming back, and that'd be great. As you say, those were brilliant in Origins. It's one of those things that's classic AC. Like Ash has said, running about in memory corridors is coming back, and the thing is, he knows what should be in an Assassin's Creed game, so I reckon there's a good chance. Since the story is presumably quite different to Origins, I'm not sure if they'll be more kind of, not grounded, but simple compared to Origins' like very trippy style of confessions, which I did like, but I do definitely agree with you on that. HEADGEAR says he wants to see naval combat, and from what we know it's going to be used primarily for exploration and getting from point A to point B, which has disappointed some people, but just because it's different to the naval we've seen in the past, I don't think it necessarily has to lose any sort of depth. In fact, I think it could be refreshing after seeing naval so much since AC3. Since we'll be using smaller ships with a smaller crew, I'd hope there'd be some other mechanics to replace combat. Maybe if we could share stories with crewmates, or if instead of waypoints there was a compass and we had to navigate around a map, or maybe if that was an option. I don't know, I just hope there's something more to it than just slow and fast movement to replace combat. Baby Spoot says they really need to nail social stealth this time. They tried it with Unity, which would have been cool given the size of the crowds, but it honestly felt so off to me. It was nothing like the older games. Yeah, Unity was weird, and they locked environmental blending behind the skill tree, which was kind of weird. I think crowds are cool, but I don't think they can really do that on the engine, and it was a part of why Unity was so buggy. But yeah, I do agree with you. They said they're doing something totally different with social stealth this time. I'm just interested in how it works on this new version of the engine. There's a lot I can do with it with like skills in regards to that, but I genuinely have no idea how this is done. I'm just glad it's here, and I just hope that it has some depth instead of just being new but flat. And I think it will have depth given the team, but you know, we'll wait and see. Kiwi Killer says the fact that every item is unique is the best news we've gotten so far. I just hope to get intrigued in the world and drawn to new locations, not because the filler missions say so, but because I think it might be worth it. This is another one that I think tons of fans will agree with. Looking at screenshots and things we've seen in trailers, the world is beautiful, and I feel like Ash more than anyone knows how to make great worlds worth exploring. We do know that this is the biggest world we've gotten yet, however with a team with 12, 13 studios and a man like Ash at the helm, I think we're in pretty safe hands, and I think both England and Norway are great settings personally, ones that I really like, and I feel they can include a lot of variety. Norway of course is beautiful, and to have an AC game with so much snow and very defined architecture, that's cool. And you've got the UK, where London is of course going to be the main city, and it'll also be seeing that in the 9th century, but you've also got York and Stonehenge too. I think we've got a team who cares a lot about world with 2 countries with a whole lot of promise, and I'd expect to really want to explore every single corner of it. The next one is from Mr. Raxacorniopolis, who says, I'll definitely be playing as a male, and I see no problem with a female protagonist, but I want a solid character with history and traits. Ezio wouldn't be Ezio if you pick between he or she was, and they did so and so, or did this and that, and it's up to your interpretation. Please UB, bring Bayek back. Yeah, Abel for sure is going to have defined traits, Darby said that, but I definitely agree that it would be far better just to have one set path for the game, whether it be with a man or a woman, and a lot of the community feel the same, and that gets misconstrued in comments like this. Can't imagine anyone would really say the only way I can enjoy my male character, as if nobody gets their female character, and no, neither can I, because that's what nobody's saying. That's never been the argument. It's always because of lore, character consistency, pushing marketable choice in favour of narrative. That's ultimately what people take issue with, and people on the other side of things usually like to say it's about sexism or general immaturity, when really it's not, and if they just listened, they'd know there is actual reasons for disliking gender choice, but that's a tangent of its own that will most likely turn into a giant shit fight, as the last one did. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, maybe leave a like. If you didn't, maybe let me know why. If you did, I can maybe do another one further down the line, a longer one. The reason why this is short and didn't have everything, and it's been like 3 days between uploads, is because I'm focusing on this Origins review. In the next few weeks, as I try and review all the games leading up to Valhalla, uploads probably will be a little slower, but I think it will be better in the long term, as I much prefer, as much as I do like doing these, I think reviews are better. I enjoyed the Syndicate one more, and I think they're just better videos. I enjoy making them more. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all next time.